want to share a story with you. I did not know that your father was a military officer who had been killed in action. Have you
Yeah.
been to Vietnam?
Steve, in fact, I'm glad you asked because I went for the first time this year and I got to visit the very site in which he took his last breath. And sounds kind of strange to say, but I really got to take my first breath at this age, and it was an extraordinary experience. Not just to visit the place where my dad died, but I have to say, to experience the hospitality, the forgiveness, the friendship of the Vietnamese people, the very
Extraordinary.
people, huh?
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary, and something that I wish more Americans could experience, a culture of forgiveness and decency and friendship and hospitality that changed me, changed my perspective on our foreign policy, changed my perspective on humanity, inspired me to ensure that young boys and girls who've lost their moms and dads in Iraq, Afghanistan, someday can also go back to their countries and perhaps experience the same feeling that I felt, which is that reconciliation is always possible. And frankly, if the Vietnamese can forgive us, Democrats and Republicans can also forgive one another and move to the future. And I think that that had a profound effect on me.
Um, the story I was going to tell you is this. So John McCain, not widely known, but John was the chaplain for the POWs.
Wow.
And the POWs, as you know, were horrendously tortured. And then two of them, John McCain and Pete Peterson, who becomes the ambassador, the first American ambassador to Vietnam, along with Senator Kerry, play a leading role with Bill Clinton. Warriors, a president who did not serve, in leading to a reconciliation between the two countries. And so reconciliation at a core level was an important theme over and over again in John's life. And he had a relationship with Mo Udall, the famous Democratic presidential candidate multiple times. And as Mo Udall of Arizona in his later years was dying, John McCain of the opposite party would go to, it was either, I think it was Walter Reed, and would read to him at his bedside. And John loved to tell Mo Udall stories. And one of his favorite was from New Hampshire, and it was the story of Mo Udall walking into a barber shop. And Mo Udall walks into this barber shop, and he says to the barber and the three customers, "Hi, I'm Mo Udall, and I'm running for president." And the barber looks at him and says, "Yeah," he goes, "we were just laughing about that," before he walked in. I think if you went to the state of New Hampshire and you said, "I'm Dean Phillips and I'm running for president, I'm seeking to become the Democratic nominee," there would be a lot of people screaming in Washington and a lot of people cheering in other parts of the country. Are you thinking about it? And if you're not, why not, given everything that you said today?
Yeah, I am thinking about it. I haven't ruled it out. I think it's a steep slope, you know that. I think there are people who are more proximate, better prepared to campaign with national organization, national name recognition, which I do not possess. But I do feel strongly, and I have a conviction that it's important for democracy to have choices, to have competition, particularly in light of what I'm reading, the polling, the data, and what I'm sensing in my own intuition. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned that there is no alternative. I'm concerned that something could happen between now and next November that would make the Democratic Convention in Chicago an unmitigated disaster. And for a party that is acting as the adults in the room, thank goodness, I'm concerned that we are not, as it relates to our electoral strategy. So I'm considering it. I do still think there's some time for somebody to enter. I'm still encouraging others who I think are better prepared right now to run a great campaign. But I have thought about it, and I recognize there'd be laughter, there'd be distaste, there would be disgust amongst many. But I also have that sense that the country is begging for alternatives. Whether that's me, whether it's somebody else, time will tell. But I think it's important that somebody recognize that this is the time. Don't wait till 2028. My goodness, serve your country now when we need you. That's my message. And I love campaigning. I love people. I love listening. Boy, if I became president at some point, Steve, I'd have a bipartisan cabinet. I would host dinners at the White House every month with randomly selected Americans from all around the country of all politics and backgrounds to just listen to them, not just host state dinners and tuxedos, but to host Americans in their White House, to not just talk bipartisanship, but to engage in a bipartisan basis. There are so many ways to ensure that everybody's invited, to ensure that representation began with listening, and to steer this country in a much different path. Now, whether that message would resonate with Democrats is another question. I surely believe it would resonate with just about every American outside of the hardcore Dems and Republicans, but these are things on my mind. And at the end of the day, I have to say this, Joe Biden always says, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. If it is Joe Biden against Donald Trump, my goodness, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I'll do everything I can to ensure that he stands the best chance to be reelected. There is no question. The alternative is horrifying. But that's also why, in a head-to-head matchup, Nikki Haley outperforms Biden beyond the margin of error because it demonstrates that most of the country is also tired of Donald Trump. By the way, they're only 3 or 4 years apart in age. Trump is dangerous to the country. The thing that Biden is suffering from, unfortunately, right now is something he can't change. And there's some wisdom in him that is quite remarkable and that I honor. But I also know what the country's asking for, and how can you ignore the numbers you see in a country that prides itself on representational democracy? That's how I see it. So we'll see. I think it's unlikely, but not impossible.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you never miss a video. Also, for more content just like this, please consider joining our Warning Premium community. You can find out more in the description below.